A very good evening to all of you. I am Sukanya and I am your English trainer for today's session. And today we are going to basically talk about, things related to the English section when it comes to IBPS SO. And if you are on the same page as mine, I hope you guys are ready with your rough notebook so that you can take down a few notes. Now, यहाँ पे सबसे important चीज़ जो हमें याद रखनी है वो ये है कि in case we don't have the habit or the ability to put our heads focused on I would say continuous reading. That's the first thing that we need to kind of change about ourselves. So अगर मैं बात करूँ English section की तो English section में सबसे important है that you need to become a reader. Now how many of you love to read? Tell me in the chat box. Hi Baban, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Good evening. Okay. And even if you do not like to read, to be honest, Diko, there are no such things in the world that we cannot change. So slowly and steadily, we can actually, make that transition from becoming a reader from a non-reader. What we need to do is, start allocating 30 minutes every single day. और probably अगर तुम लोगों को बिल्कुल भी रीडिंग करना पसंद नहीं है तो pick up topics that are most interesting to you. हाय निखिल, आई होप यू आर डूइंग वेल. सो यहाँ पे सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ ये है कि अगर तुम लोगों को पढ़ना नहीं पसंद है तो पढ़ना हमेशा वो चीज़ें करो जो तुम्हें सही में इंटरेस्टिंग लगती हो. लाइक बॉयज जनरली लाइक टू रीड अबाउट स्पोर्ट्स एंड ऑल्सो दे लाइक टू फॉलो न्यूज़, ठीक है, ऑन अ रेगुलर बेसिस. तो क्यों ना हम 30 मिनट्स की यही आदत डाल लें. सो सबसे पहले तो इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द इंग्लिश सिलेबस, व्हाट डू यू थिंक comes in the English section of IBPS SO? Can anybody tell me? Waiting for your response. I hope you guys can see my screen, by the way. So, as you can see, reading comprehension is one of the most important elements when it comes to the English section. And by comprehension, what do we mean? Comprehension का मतलब ये होता है understanding. कोई बात नहीं निखिल. I hope after today's class you will have at least some clarity about the English section. कोई बात नहीं. तो रीडिंग कॉम्प्रहेंशन एक वो पार्ट है जो हमने स्कूल्स में भी सॉल्व किया है. अनसीन पैसेजेस याद है? किसको पसंद थे अनसीन पैसेजेस? टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, अनसीन पैसेजेस आर दैट पार्ट ऑफ द इंग्लिश पेपर विच आर वेरी वेरी स्कोरिंग. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि क्योंकि जनरली हम लोगों को स्कूल में डायरेक्ट आंसर्स ही दिए जाते थे, सो दैट यूज्ड टू बी वन ऑफ माय मोस्ट फेवरेट पार्ट्स. सो डू यू गाइस आल्सो लाइक इट? ठीक है. देखो ऑब्वियसली जो स्कूल के रीडिंग कॉम्प्रहेंशन पैसेजेस थे उनका लेवल काफी अलग था फ्रॉम द पैसेजेस दैट यू आर गोइंग टू गेट हियर. एंड टुडे आई एम गोइंग टू आल्सो टॉक अबाउट द डिफरेंट जॉनर ऑफ पैसेजेस दैट यू माइट कम अक्रॉस. सो कॉम्प्रहेंशन दिया क्यों जाता है? बिकॉज दे वांट टू टेस्ट योर एबिलिटी to understand things. It's very, very important for a person who is aiming to become SO has, I would say, a very sharp understanding skill. And that's the reason reading comprehension is given. तो तुम्हें यहाँ पे बहुत different type के questions मिलेंगे when it comes to the exam. For example, a very common question type is the direct questions, जो कि हमने school में भी solve किए हैं. And for direct questions, I also like to call them explicit questions. देखो, जब डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस की बात आती है तो यू नीड टू बी वेरी वेरी स्मार्ट हियर बिकॉज डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस जो होते हैं उसमें होते हैं कीवर्ड्स. डू यू गाइस नो व्हाट आर कीवर्ड्स? बताओ जरा. कोई है यहाँ पे जिसको थोड़ा बहुत आइडिया है कि कीवर्ड्स क्या होते हैं? Keywords can be any word that stands out in a question. Stands out का मतलब होता है suppose किसी का नाम दिया हुआ है in the question. Suppose there is a theory being discussed in the question. Suppose there is an acronym given in the question. Acronym basically means the आपने देखा होगा IAS या MBA. These are known as acronyms and basically these have full forms. For example, अगर मैं MBA की बात करूँ तो it is Masters of Business Application, right? तो ऐसे acronyms अगर आपको दिख रहे हैं, if you see anything that's written in capital letters, if you see any numbers mentioned, numbers for example किसी की birth date दी हुई है या particular year mentioned है, so these are things which easily stand out in a question. ठीक है? तो जब हम question पढ़ रहे हैं, please be more focused in order to highlight these keywords. अगर तुम लोगों ने वहीं पे ही highlight कर लिए तो तुम्हें बहुत easily उसका आंसर passage में मिल जाएगा. ठीक है? हाँ, बताइए. मुझे क्या सुनना है, वकील साहब? Waiting for your question. As you can see, the next question category when it comes to RC passages are the inferential questions. कभी किसी ने inferential questions यहाँ पे solve किए? कुछ idea है ये होता क्या है? अगर हमने direct questions already discuss कर लिए हैं, तो direct का opposite क्या होता है? Indirect, right? So indirect questions are basically those questions that will definitely require you to read the whole passage. क्योंकि ये आपकी basically understanding test करना चाहते हैं कि आपको कितना समझ में आया after reading the passage. ठीक है? Exactly, Nikhil, absolutely right. तो moving forward, indirect questions या inferential questions वो questions होते हैं which are basically, to be very honest, your rank is I think it's really really good, so you don't really have to worry about it. But yeah, I'm not the right person to talk about that, to be very honest. I think you should get in touch with the team, especially the counseling team of CLAT PG, and probably they'll guide you better. ठीक है? हाँ, तो कमिंग बैक टू दिस, अगर मैं बात करती हूँ इनडायरेक्ट या इन्फरेंशियल क्वेश्चंस की, तो यहाँ पे आपको बस एक चीज करनी है, दैट इज द राइटर इज ट्राइंग टू जज योर एबिलिटी, दैट हाउ क्विक यू आर इन पिकिंग हिंट्स. ठीक है? इसके लिए मैं एक बहुत सिंपल सा एग्जांपल देना चाहती हूँ. फॉर एग्जांपल, सपोज इट्स अ डार्क रूम. ओके? एंड many people are sitting here, and a person enters from one of the doors with popcorn and coke. What do you think this dark room is? कोई मुझे बता सकता है? Any guesses? By picking up the contextual clues. ठीक है? Contextual clues का मतलब है I have shown you a dark room. I have told you that there are many people sitting here. I have told you that somebody enters with popcorn and coke in their hand. So obviously it means it's a movie theater. And that's exactly what you need to do. Reader's conclusion is known as, sorry, is known as an inference. ठीक है? तो inferential questions में main idea questions आते हैं, summary questions आते हैं, title based questions आते हैं, and they actually require you to focus on the passage and draw your own conclusions. And if you are somebody who's really good at drawing the conclusions, I think inferential questions should not really be a problem. Okay? So moving forward to the next type of question that you might come across, and that is vocabulary question. Now, how many of you think that when it comes to vocabulary, you lack the necessary skills? मुझे लगता है कि vocabulary is that part which is considered as the weakest link for most people because vocabulary को याद करना पड़ता है and generally people are not good at rote learning. रट्टा मारना मेरे ख्याल से it's not everybody's cup of tea. तो यहाँ पे अगर मैं बात करूँ vocabulary की तो किस टाइप के questions आ सकते हैं आप लोगों के सामने? You might get questions like synonyms or antonyms. You might get questions in the format of fill in the blanks and sometimes even double fill in the blanks. So they might pick a sentence from the passage और फिर वहां पे वो एक word को highlight कर देंगे. Suppose this is a sentence from the passage. They will highlight this word and they will ask you to fill this with an appropriate synonym or an antonym. ठीक है? Similarly, they might underline two words and they might ask you to find their replacement from the options given below. अब इसके लिए तो vocabulary पे काम करना बहुत ही ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है and for that again as I have already told you if you are somebody who loves to read things are going to be very smooth for you. So इसीलिए मैंने बोला कि भले ही slow and steady start करो लेकिन start ज़रूर कर दो. I'll also talk about few sources from where you can read, from where you can at least kickstart your reading habit. ठीक है so don't worry about that. Yes, exactly. So vocabulary के भी कुछ types होते हैं. एक तो होता है etymology जिसके basically the root words that you were talking about. People learn through root words. जैसे कि for example if I say misdemeanor. What is the meaning of misdemeanor? Can anybody tell me? Demeanor means behavior. And if I'm using the root word miss, first of all, it has negative connotation. It's not really a positive prefix. तो इसका मतलब है मैंने demeanor को ही opposite कर दिया. Basically, I'm talking about misbehavior, somebody who doesn't behave well with people. Similarly, you might have also heard of like malpractice. तो ये एक तरीका है root words से vocabulary याद करने का. That's definitely one of the I would say most successful techniques that you can implement. उसके अलावा भी even if you try to make a handful of words a part of your day-to-day language, things are going to be very easy for you. For example, अगर मैंने दिन भर में 4-5 भी कोई नए words use कर लिए and every single day I make it a habit that whenever I learn a new word, I am going to incorporate it. तो हो गया आधे से ज्यादा काम वैसे ही सॉल्व हो गया क्योंकि तुम्हें फिर अलग से उस चीज को याद करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. ठीक है सो मूविंग फॉरवर्ड एटिमोलॉजी के अलावा एक निमोनिक्स भी टेक्निक होती है. सम पीपल आल्सो हैव द हैबिट of building stories by getting a cluster of some difficult words. मेरे ख्याल से 10 words का एक क्लस्टर बना लेते हैं और उसके अराउंड स्टोरीज बिल्ड करके भी वो मीनिंग्स याद रखते हैं. There's also one more technique which I generally implement in my classes, and that is vocabulary. Vocabulary का मतलब होता है learning vocabulary through photos. So that's also, I would say, more towards the entertaining aspect of vocabulary. So people generally like it. For moving forward, another question type that you can also come across, and that is cloze test. Now, how many of you are aware of cloze test or para completion? Again, in order to get better at it, you need to understand the contextual clues which the passage has involved in general. So, जब मैं बात करती हूँ cloze test की, it basically means you will get a paragraph and you will see that there are certain errors in the paragraph and you are supposed to find out the erroneous part. आपको उस error को find out करना है, आपको उसका replacement ढूंढना है. So close test का मतलब होता है एक paragraph दिया जाएगा. Now errors can be based on what? First, vocabulary. They will intentionally use a, I would say, wrong word or an incorrect word to throw you off the track, and you are supposed to find out the correct word that can be used. It can be based on prepositions. Generally, people do not know the difference between in and into, on and on to, among and between, और वहीं पे वो आपको उलझा देते हैं. So prepositions is another common error. Then there is error in regard to another grammar topic, which is tenses. हो सकता है कि पूरा का पूरा जो पैराग्राफ है वो चल रहा होगा प्रेजेंट टेंस में and suddenly there will be one sentence given in the past tense or future tense. Okay, and then there are also errors related to conjunctions. I hope you guys remember conjunctions from your school days, the joining words, right? तो जानबूझ के कुछ गलत conjunction देके they will change the meaning of the sentence. So if you are somebody who is like really good at picking the contextual clues हमेशा कैसे पकड़े जाते हैं? For example, एक बड़ा सा paragraph दिया हुआ है आपको और यहाँ पे error है. And if I am supposed to find out the error, I need to read this, and this thoroughly to understand whether this word actually fits this or not. And if it doesn't, then you will be looking for replacements. Okay? So that's how we actually solve a cloze test. Para completion is very simple from the name itself. I think it's pretty evident. Para completion का मतलब होता है you need to complete the paragraph. पैराग्राफ कंप्लीट करने के लिए अगर तुम्हें ऊपर का ही पैराग्राफ याद नहीं होगा तो तुम बाकी का कैसे ही समझोगे. So it's very simple. You need to understand what is going on in the first 4 or 5 lines of the paragraph, and then you are supposed to find out what could be the immediate next line. ठीक है? Again, इसमें भी contextual clues play a very crucial role. ठीक है? Now, this is something which is again related to your syllabus of English. There's also tone or attitude based questions. Tone of the writer or attitude of the writer while writing the passage. Do you know what this is? Can anybody tell me? Tone is basically the ups and downs or the feelings or the emotions or the roller coaster of feelings and emotions a writer undergoes. While writing about a particular subject matter. तुम लोगों ने देखा होगा कि whenever you read a particular article or a particular book, it makes you feel a certain type of way. कभी तुम लोगों ने बहुत ही sad या tragic कोई novel पढ़ा है? Have you ever read something which was really, really sad, really made you break, like, really made your heart break into like a million different pieces? ऐसा कभी हुआ है? Or maybe, suppose you might have read a novel which is full of happy thoughts, very enthusiastic, very energetic. I think after reading such novels, you will also take away certain feelings and emotions along with it. तो उसी को ही बोलते हैं tone. So the writer has his own individualistic, way of feeling and going through things, and that's exactly what gets reflected in the passage. तो वो ये भी पूछेंगे आपको कि what could be the tone or what could be the attitude of the writer when he was writing this passage? Was he critical, or was he cynical, or was he argumentative, or was he persuasive? क्या आपको ये पता था? So So that's exactly what you need to put to use. Again, this is one of the topics that they can definitely ask you questions on. There are also questions which will want you to weaken or strengthen the argument. बहुत ही सिंपल सा फंडा है. अगर हमें वीकन करना है किसी आर्ग्यूमेंट को तो सबसे पहले तो आर्ग्यूमेंट को आइडेंटिफाई करना सीखो. दैट्स द फर्स्ट स्टेप. Identify what the argument is. Sometimes it's directly given in the question, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's something that you need to find out after reading the passage. So identify the argument, and agar if you are supposed to weaken it, that means prove the opposite of the argument. और वहीं पे ही अगर हमें स्ट्रेंथन करना है आर्ग्यूमेंट को तो आई थिंक इट्स प्रीटी सिंपल. स्ट्रेंथन में हम क्या करेंगे? वी विल बी बेसिकली फाइंडिंग options which support the writer's argument. Now it's very, very imperative for you guys to start reading newspaper editorials. मुझे नहीं पता how many of you are already in the habit of it or not, but if you are not, then start at least spending 30 to 45 minutes on newspaper editorials. Now these newspapers could be Times of India, Indian Express, The Hindu, whatever suits you, whatever makes you comfortable. बट हाँ, इतना टाइम तो हमें स्पेंड करना चाहिए न्यूज़पेपर एडिटोरियल्स पे. And generally what happens when people are reading something which is very dry and which makes them lose interest, so they become passive readers. Passive readers का क्या मतलब होता है? आई एम रीडिंग फॉर द सेक ऑफ रीडिंग. मुझे दिमाग में कुछ समझ में आ नहीं रहा है, मुझे पढ़ने को बोला था तो मैंने पढ़ तो लिया, बट अगर कोई मुझे समझाने को बोलेगा तो आई वोंट बी एबल टू अटर अ सिंगल लाइन. तो ऐसे पढ़ने का तो मतलब ही नहीं है. सो व्हाट यू नीड टू डू इज you need to be very active when you are reading a passage. How can you be active? By making notes. तो साइड में create a box for yourself and answer some relevant questions. Questions अपने पहले से ही ready रखा करो. For example, what could be an alternate title of the passage? What could be the main idea of the passage? Main idea का मतलब है which the writer is going on and on and on about in every single paragraph. Then what could be an alternate conclusion of this passage? Is there a writer's argument in the passage? और अगर राइटर का आर्ग्यूमेंट दिया हुआ है तो what weaken or strengthen it? ऐसे कुछ क्वेश्चंस जब हम खुद से आंसर करने लग जाएंगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली इट मीन्स यू आर पेइंग अटेंशन. whatever you are reading, you are at least reading it wholeheartedly, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. ऑल्सो जनरली हमने देखा है कि आईबीपीएस एसओ में पैसेजेस जो होते हैं वो इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट के आते हैं. सो द जॉनर, व्हाट्स द मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड जॉनर? कैन एनीबडी टेल मी? Basically means the category of the passages, category or types of passages that you might come across. ठीक है? So Indian context के passages जिसमें current affairs, economy, business, history, science and tech, ये कुछ common genres है that you might come across while giving that exam. So from where you can read stuff on these particular genres? So the first is, अगर मैं करंट अफेयर्स की बात करूँ तो यू कैन गो फॉर मैगजीन सच एज फ्रंटलाइन और द आउटलुक. You can even go for Reader's Digest. And If you want to read online, go for something like The Economist, The Hindu, Smithsonian Magazine. ये कुछ सोर्सेस हैं जहाँ पे बैठ के आप आराम से इन सारे डिफरेंट जॉनर पे एक्सप्लोर जरूर कर सकते हैं. Now again, see, reading is something which does not really come naturally to many people. So again, this is a very, very, I would say, mindful choice that you will have to make every single day. क्योंकि अगर तुम्हारी reading अच्छी है तो automatically you will be able to solve every single question in this paper. It's as simple as that. And also, we are going to practice a few sets today in our 5 o'clock class. So I would like to, guide you through the entire process. How can you have an access to that class if you want to attend it? And I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. So what you need to do here is just a second. Just open Chrome. What you will be doing is you will be opening Chrome and you will be writing toprankers.com, which will take you to this page, right? You'll have to obviously log in, and you can see here there are some online courses given. I hope it's visible. Online courses में हम कहाँ जाएंगे? Law PG में. And as you can clearly see here, IBPS SO Law is pretty evident, right? So all you need to do is enroll yourself, go to this particular website, and everything is right in front of your eyes. Just go on the online courses tab, Law PG, IBPS SO, and you're good to go. Okay, so the class is going to be from 5 o'clock. I hope I've made myself clear and I hope there are no doubts. If in case anything is unclear, please let me know right now so that I can clear out your queries in general. So मुझे बता दो if there is anything that you haven't understood. Otherwise, we can meet at 5. Right. Okay. So I am considering that you guys don't have any questions. And so I'll wrap up today's session for now. And thank you so much, everyone, for your time. And I'll be seeing you soon. Bye bye. Have a good day.